their choice, but I'm just somebody who's trying to do his best to be a good person.
Something about him, like in that interview behind bars, charged with murder, he appears to be almost similar to the way he was in his campaign video. Anyhow, this brings me to my next question, which is, what's really going on with Robert Tellis? What's going on up here? I need some experts for this. Let's bring them in. So joining us, board-certified forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. What do you think's really going on with Robert Tellis? There's good people that go into politics, then there's not so good people that also go into politics. But when you do that, you want to make yourself very public. So is that any sort of a read into what's going on with this guy?
Well, he is a very interesting guy. First of all, a lot of the people who were interviewed who knew him way back when say that they don't recognize him now, that he's very different. And he comes from a family of politicians. His father was a politician, and he got into some kind of a scandal regarding bribery. And then he has other relatives who, got to be particularly elected in El Paso or appointed. And then even just recently, his cousin was appointed to be the ambassador to Costa Rica. So there's a lot of competition amongst the family. Like he wanted to be a politician too, perhaps surpass them, perhaps show that he wasn't like his father, he wasn't going to have a scandal. Of course, now he does. But it's really interesting. I mean, I think that he has a lot of narcissistic qualities. He has a lot of histrionic qualities. He seems rather borderline. He has a temper, a very hair-trigger temper. And there are a number of things, that's why I say there are a number of things that come together that make me say that he's borderline. But one thing, you don't, a woman scorned, there's nothing, what's that sentence? There's no fury, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Thank you. Because the two women in his office who were the biggest sources for Mr. Gurman's articles were two women who were jealous of his relationship with the other woman in the back of the car. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that they were attracted to him or wanted to be in a relationship with him, but they were jealous of his favoritism.
Inside the office. I want to play, and by the way, Dr. Lieberman, I think a family of politicians, maybe we identified here a genetic defect that he has.
There is sufficient evidence to book me right now. There is sufficient evidence to book you right now, yes. You're very certain about that? I am very certain about that.
Tellis was booked that night on domestic violence, battery, and resisting arrest.
Now that goes back in time. That goes back to 2020, 2 years before all this is happening. Brings me to my next question about Robert Tellis and whatever's happening here. Was his life unraveling? This life of being a dad, a husband, a father, a public official. Yeah, you heard that as a public official. He kept reminding investigators there. Let's bring back in our experts, Dr. Judy Ho, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Dr. Carol Lieberman, was his life unraveling? And what does this domestic violence allegation tell us?
Yes, I think it was. First of all, when he was growing up and he had all these relatives who were politicians and so on, he was used to being sort of given special privileges. And now that he is on his own, and things weren't going so well. First of all, perhaps, the story is that he was drinking with his wife on the Strip. And then when they got into an argument, and he said to her, kill me, when they were arguing on the Strip. People apparently heard that. And so it's very bizarre. And in the end, he managed to squeak out of it because she didn't press charges. But between the alcohol and the wife, and this was his second marriage, he had married a woman before. He had a child with a previous woman, a previous wife, and they were co-parenting. And now she was interviewed, and she said he wanted a wife. He wanted to go into politics, so he wanted a wife who would be like the wife of a politician, like flashy and doing volunteer work and so on to help his politics. And so that's why he left that first wife. So anyhow, yes, it seems that he was getting older. He's already 45, and if his career is over, I mean, how is he going to continue in politics?
I want to take another look at those backseat images of Tellis's alleged affair obtained by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. And as we look at them, Dr. Carol Lieberman, is there any connection between the drinking, the alleged domestic violence, the alleged affair, in what is going on in the life of Robert Tellis?
He's out of control. All of those are examples of ways that his life is out of control. And yes, I want to underline that this is not from ADHD. You do not have these kinds of behaviors. You can't blame it on that.
Believe he will not be able to resist taking the stand in his own defense, whether he is or is not representing himself. He will make that decision. I want to thank our guests. Big thank you to forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman.